If you want one of these I Survived the Plandemic hats and more, visit ablmerch.com and use promo code CAGES, as in Joe Biden's kids in cages, to get 20% off your next order. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the Derek Chauvin trial. Now, if you don't know what that is, I'll give you a quick recap just so we're on the same page with each other. Now, Derek Chauvin was the main arresting officer who was there when George Floyd died. Now, I'm not saying he killed George Floyd or he didn't kill George Floyd. I'll talk about that specifically in a little bit. But he was the main guy. He was the guy that had a knee on the neck. Remember that? There's been references to this in pop culture. I think Dave Chappelle did a quote-unquote comedy special about this called 8:46, meaning 8 minutes, 46 seconds, as far as how long Derek Chauvin's knee was on George Floyd's neck. So people say that's the reason why George Floyd died, the knee on the neck. There's a lot of controversy behind that. And that whole incident sparked Black Lives Matter again for the 2020 season. It was around a lot back in 2015, 2016. Speaking about Black Lives Matter, that is, all of a sudden it came back just in time for the presidential election. And after George Floyd unfortunately died, may he rest in peace, after he died, Black Lives Matter and BLM affiliated and similar groups were able to raise $10.6 billion US dollars. 10.6 billion with a B. That's a lot of money. All right. But I'll digress. My whole point is that George Floyd died. He was being arrested by police. Derek Chauvin has been the guy that's been pretty much blamed for it. He's on trial right now for second-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter, and third-degree murder. He might be gone forever if convicted, or he might get off. Or he may be convicted of lesser crimes, or I'm not really sure how it's going to go, but the trial has begun. Now, all eyes are on the trial because there were already riots in Minneapolis where the whole thing happened right when George Floyd died. And like I said, you had Black Lives Matter resurge, come back from the ashes of the 2016 election and the 2020 election. So they were all over the country doing these riots. All eyes are on the trial because if it goes the wrong way, there could be some more riots. Now, I don't know when the trial is going to end. If it ends quickly, there may be less riots because it may be less warm outside. But if it gets to be later on in the year and we're getting the summertime, it might not go very well. You've had billions in damages as a result of Black Lives Matter rallies and riots, whatever you want to call it. Even sometimes when there is a perceived victory on the Black Lives Matter side, there's still riots because it's never enough. Like, here's an example of what could happen. If Derek Chauvin gets convicted for George Floyd's death, but he doesn't get convicted of everything, like he doesn't have every single charge on his back, then there still could be some riots. Okay, I think that Derek Chauvin is going to beat the case because one thing we got to look at is the medical examiner. What did the medical examiner say about the knee on the neck? The medical examiner did not say the knee on the neck caused a death. Okay, and that's the Hennepin County medical examiner. There was another report from a private pathologist hired by the family, but that was not admitted into court. All right, that was totally thrown out straight from the beginning. And that report said that the knee did cause the death. So all you have is the Hennepin County medical examiner that says that George Floyd died from a heart attack, from cardiac arrest, right? Now, Derek Chauvin's lawyers are saying that George Floyd had drugs in the system and he already had a bad heart to begin with. So that's probably what caused the death right there. All right. Now, the other side are saying that it was a knee on the neck and it was asphyxiation. But again, the medical examiner for the family that was thrown out said that it was asphyxiation, meaning he was choked to death and the knee caused the death. But the medical examiner from Hennepin County up there in Minnesota did not say that. The medical examiner said that it was a heart issue. Okay. And George Floyd did have drugs in the system. And both of the reports from the family and from Hennepin County, Minnesota, they both said that George Floyd had fentanyl in the system. So if you have a lethal amount of fentanyl in your system, maybe you get pulled over, you put it into your mouth so the police don't find it, you're getting arrested, you're resisting, you get into excited delirium, and then you have a heart attack because you already had a bad heart to begin with. That'd make more sense than the knee causing the injury because, again, the medical examiner does not say that. Also, the knee was something that was trained by Minneapolis Police Department, which is where the whole thing happened, Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was a trained maneuver, all right? And then we have the body cam footage, and if I can find that, I'll link to it in the box. But the body cam footage shows that George Floyd was not by himself in the car. He had two passengers, and the passengers were pretty much cool. They didn't have any kind of problems, no resisting. There was nothing like that going on. George Floyd was just freaking out for no real reason, because he was not in any kind of serious trouble. I think the police were called for a fake bill or something like that. It wasn't anything to really be freaking out about. He's freaking out, resisting, not trying to get handcuffed. When they had put him into the squad car, not on the ground originally, he fought to get out of the squad car and requested to get laid on the ground. And then once he got laid on the ground, the knee was put there just to restrain him, right? Which was a maneuver that was taught by the department. Now, at that moment, people say that they thought that he was being choked to death and all this and that, but it could have just been a decided delirium, shooting him way up high and then crashing him all the way down to the point where he passed away. That is probably what happened. So if you look at the evidence that I've been able to see, he'll probably get off. If he doesn't get off, they'll get him on like the smallest charge they can. Maybe the second-degree manslaughter or something like that. Okay, but the knee on the neck thing, that can't really be the focal point of the prosecution, because that was a trained maneuver. And again, one more time, the medical report does not cite the knee on the neck as a cause of death. So how are you going to bank your whole thing on that when that's just not even part of it? All that somebody could say is that George Floyd was experiencing some kind of medical problems. He didn't look good while he was on the ground, and the officer should have taken better care of him. Maybe you could say that, but I mean, what crime would that be? Would that be manslaughter? I'm not really sure what that would be. So I think you'll probably get off. The jury has been selected. I think you have 8 whites, 4 blacks, and I believe 2 mixed. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what it is. I'm not really sure about all their political affiliates. I know it was like a big vetting process that they were going through. They were asking, okay, do you believe in Black Lives Matter? Are you this? Are you that? It was crazy. I was seeing all people getting vetted like live on Twitter. And speaking about live, this event will be live on television, which is kind of ridiculous. It's like the OJ trial, right? And I think that the media are trying to stoke this up. We saw the same thing happen in 2015, 2016, while all these Black Lives Matter riots were first happening. The media were always there. I mean, it could be no signs of a riot, but the media are right there what I think a riot could be. And I think at a certain point when the media shows up, you got the troublemakers, the rabble rousers that come from all over the country, maybe even all over the world, to come down there to promote their brand, to promote themselves, to try and become famous, to try and just start stuff, anarchists, all kind of crazy, ridiculous insurrectionists, truly insurrectionist groups that come down there to start trouble. Okay, we've already seen that. We saw it the first time with Ferguson, Missouri, Baltimore, Maryland, and then other parts of the country to a lesser extent. We saw it this time again, Minneapolis. We saw it on the left coast a lot. Portland, Oregon, Chaz Chop out there in Seattle. There have been plenty of copycats, plenty of little splinter cell groups engaging in violence, all because Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, but I'm going to tear up a black neighborhood because I think that black folks aren't getting treated fairly here. Well, how are you going to make things better for the black folks in the neighborhood when you're tearing their department stores up, tearing their grocery stores up, destroying the infrastructure? You got old ladies, grandmas that can't even get their fresh fruits and veggies anymore from the local store. They got to go all the way into town with no car. They got to get into an Uber where it's very dangerous, might get assaulted. So it's like, what are we really doing when we say Black Lives Matter, but then go up and tear stuff up? I don't really get it, but for now, I digress. My whole point is that this may not end well if Chauvin gets off, but I think from what I've been able to see, that it'd be the right thing. If he gets convicted, I think he'll easily win on an appeal. What would the conviction be for? The knee? That's not even really it. So then what? So then what? If George Floyd had drugs in his system and he already had a bad heart, I mean, what could have prevented what happened from happening. You know, rest in peace to the man, but I don't really see a way for the people that want Chauvin to go to the penitentiary to succeed. I don't really see it. Now, I'm all for somebody that does something wrong to go to the penitentiary, like the guy that killed Walter Scott in South Carolina. Oh, nah, he need to go because he killed the man and then like tried to kind of hide it and cover it up. Now, I'm not saying Walter Scott did not aid in his own demise. Please be clear. I mean, I'm not going to say he had no responsibility there because he was a victim and he shouldn't have died. I'm not going to say that. However, the officer who did that most certainly needs to go away. And he did go away, which is the correct thing to do. But as far as Derek Chauvin, everything he did was by the book. Everything he did was by the book. And when they first arrested him, they were trying to be so nice and so patient. And even up until the very end, they did what they could. They tried to save him. They tried to revive him. If this was some kind of depraved heart murder, you go out there and try to kill this man, you did it on purpose, I don't think he would go about it in that way. But that's just my humble opinion. Hopefully they don't tear up Minneapolis or anywhere else in the nation because there's been quite a bit of that going on. And I think that also sparked the whole defund the police movement. Minneapolis, they're trying to bring more money back in. LA, same thing. They're trying to reverse the effects of what happened in 2020 with Black Lives Matter all over the nation. So let's not have this event take all these cities a few steps back. But as I close, I want to say this. You could solve or possibly prevent some of these things from happening, meaning the riots and whatnot as a result of Black Lives Matter. Nip it in the bud. Do not allow these people to be out there just doing whatever they want to do. If you allow them free reign to roam, what did the former mayor of DC, Baltimore say? Okay, we give room to destroy. If you don't give them room to destroy, maybe they can't destroy. That's just my particular thoughts on it, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think Derek Chauvin is guilty of any of the crimes mentioned? Second-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter, third-degree murder, all the above, one of the above, whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You guys pretty much know where I stand. I don't think he's guilty at all. I think, judging by the video, he did everything right. And like I said, I'm not afraid to say when somebody does something wrong. The guy who killed Walter Scott in South Carolina, totally wrong. But in this case, what he did was approved by the department. He wasn't malicious at all. I think George Floyd was having a drug-induced reaction, a drug-induced fit, and that's ultimately what led to his death. That's just my humble opinion. The knee on the neck did not cause the death, according to the medical examiner. So all I can do when it comes to that specifically is go by what they say. The family's medical report that they hired somebody to do was thrown out because the person had been known to be kind of like quid pro quo, pay for play. Like, hey, pay me X amount of money, I'll give you whatever result you want to hear. That was the same guy that came back in Jeffrey Epstein case and gave a different, result, cause of death than the official one. So why is a guy that ruled on the case in New York coming to Minnesota for another high-profile case? You already know what time it is. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.